just like this industry has something for everyone, and as far as opportunity and position, I think you have to meet people where they are, based on, like I said, their personality, their goals, their objectives, and say, hey, listen, wherever you want to go, we're going to find a place for you. And that's really what the platform was designed to do.
Welcome to the Insurance Refocused podcast, where we're highlighting real agent stories and how they are innovating to respond to the changes and challenges happening in the independent insurance industry. My name's Lindsay, and I can't wait to introduce you to my amazing co-host, who just so happens to be my mom, Carrie Wallace. Mom, how you doing today?
Lindsay, I am having an okay day. How about you? How's your day going?
I'm doing good. We are recording this the week after 4th of July, so we are all well rested and well celebrated America this month, and we are. I'm ready to go. Hit the ground running.
Yeah, I'm having a good start to my week. I like that we were able to get everything wrapped up before the 4th of July, and no travel was very, very helpful after that big travel run. So I feel like I'm getting all ramped up and ready to rock and roll. So super, super pumped to be here today.
Well, I'm super pumped. Today we have a new friend to us and to our listeners to come on and share. I don't want to give him too much of an intro because I want us all to, figure out what it is he's been up to and what he does together. But Rod, welcome to the podcast. We're super, super happy to have you here today.
Man, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yes. So Rod, tell me what your background is. How in the world did insurance find you? Because that is how it works, right?
Oh man, it's when I tell it, I don't think the story is that interesting, but when I share it with others, they think the story is very interesting. So first, I'll just share that, I'm about a decade and a half in the industry. I'm an agency principal at Encore Insurance Group in Richmond, Virginia. We specialize in commercial insurance solutions and employee benefits for small, mid-sized businesses as well as public sector. And, coming into this industry, I think like most people, I found it pretty much by accident, which is also a part of our conversation, kind of led me into, my media platform, You Should Get a License, which I consider number one source for information, education, and inspiration on the most underrated industry in business today. That is a career in the insurance and financial services industry. So coming into this space, I always thought growing up that I was going to be, I did work in the entertainment industry, and I thought I was going to be an R&B superstar, like that. That's where I was going to be, Mm-hmm. I remember hearing Jodeci come and talk to me. I'm 13 years old and I'm seeing the music video, and these guys are walking around. I'm like, hey, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And the reality is, for about 20 years of my life, that is what I did. That is what I focused on. So I recorded as an artist. I toured as an artist internationally, had music distributed around the world. I was always primarily independent, but I did have, those major label deals. I had three, one with a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, subsidiary of Universal. Then I did my last distribution deal through a large multinational distributor called E1. And the experience that I found in that industry really prepared me actually for this space as well. And what I learned is, man, I had so many great experiences there, met so many cool people, built great relationships, that I maintain to this day, had some music and some film, some TV, had an album that charted on Billboard, had some really cool experiences, shot some music videos and all kinds of stuff that were on air, and was doing it independently. So, and I think that's really the unique part of my journey, that, I wasn't doing this under the auspice of some giant company that was feeding this. I was doing this as an entrepreneur. So I'm calling stores, I'm working with other partners, but I'm facilitating radio. I'm getting, different stations to play the music. I'm calling stores. I'm setting up either wholesale consignment deals. I'm doing international wholesale consignment deals. I'm booking tours, working with promoters in the UK and in France, all over the place.
That's a big job.
To get things going, negotiating distribution agreements with other distributors to get my music out into retailers. It was a lot behind the scenes that people don't often see on the surface. And it really prepared me. So for this space, when it was introduced to me originally, what I was looking for was an opportunity to stay close to home. I'm a father of 4 boys. And my youngest, who is now 14, he was just born. And man, I found myself, I was on the road. Like I was up and down the coast. I'm in Chicago. I'm in LA. I'm in Atlanta. I'm in St. Louis. I'm in Indianapolis. I'm in Texas. I mean, I'm going everywhere. But the instability of that industry really does take its toll. In addition to the time constraints that it creates. So I was looking for an opportunity that would keep me close to home, but would still allow me the flexibility to control my schedule. And in that, I put my resume together, I put it out, and I started getting responses from insurance organizations, either from captain agent organizations and from some of the independents, the life insurance companies, all kinds of different things. And I started to meet with these companies, and I never really understood the industry, never really understood what it was about. But in those conversations, what I found was, man, this is a diamond in the rough. This is a path that, most people would never even think about. And I remember when I met with the company that I started with in worksite benefits. So I started employee benefits, working with businesses during business hours. And they started to speak with me about, not only the coverages that were offered, which I wasn't that familiar with. And I was like, hey, this sounds pretty good, but also, that it could be very lucrative as well. As we spoke about, not only the earnings and revenue that could be generated via the commissions, but also the renewals. And the renewals is really what sent the light bulb off in my head, because renewals are very similar to publishing, music publishing. And I did have experience in music publishing. I started a music publishing company when I was 18. In college, I had, like I said, I've licensed some music and film and TV and such as well. So I had some experience there, and I was like, man, so you're telling me that if I'm working with someone, I'm working with a business or individual inside of that business, one of those employees, you mean every time they're paying their premium, I'm going to get some of that too. And I only had to go once, and then maybe, hey, I'm going to go back next year, maybe check on them, or, just stay available. And he's like, yeah, that's how it works. Now, I appreciate the candor that my manager had initially. Todd Lauer was his name when he recruited me. I appreciate the candor he said. He said, listen, I'm not going to tell you that this is easy, because it's not. He said it's hard, but it's not manual labor and it's not rocket science. All you have to do is keep your head down, stay focused, give it 12 months. You're going to look up. It's going to be one of the best career decisions you ever made. When I looked up after 12 months, first of all, I said, you know what, 12 months, I can do that. But when I looked up after 12 months, I said, man, he was right. He was right. Haven't looked back since. It's been an amazing experience, amazing journey. Started my career as an agent working in Central Virginia, which is where I'm from, in Richmond. With that organization, ended up moving into a leadership role, having responsibility for about 17 counties around Virginia, then all of Eastern Virginia, then moved to Maryland and had DC, Maryland, Virginia, and ultimately Delaware as a territory. Yeah. Was able to work with some amazing people, had some amazing mentors, an amazing team. It was phenomenal. And
so can we just pause here for a second? Because hang on a minute. Listen, I think this is a first, Lindsay. You tell me, but we've had a doctor that has come into the insurance industry. We've had some other people. I don't know that we've ever had an R&B artist on the podcast that then changed and turned to want to sell insurance, which is amazing, because I'm with you, Rod. I think this is the world's best kept secret, and it shouldn't be. Like, I wish that it wasn't, but it is. It's an industry that gives so many people opportunity. It's a very diverse industry, and it's probably one of the industries that makes the most millionaires, in my opinion. So it's crazy. And they're silent. Like, you don't know them. Yeah. They're in these little towns all across the country, and these guys are super successful. Not just that. It's not just about money. They're also making an incredible difference in their, which is the reason I stayed. Like, I got to tell tell you, I came from a tech startup. I thought that was cool and sexy. And when I came back into the industry, or came back into the workforce, I came into insurance, thinking this is probably a project that I'm going to do, and then I'll find what I really want to do. And I never left. You know what I mean? Like
That's exactly how it
it's
happens.
and it was all about the people for me. It's not about anything but the people. So, Rod, you created something kind of cool that this, you should get a license, or that's your podcast, correct? So what inspired you to, I know you would want to run an agency. That's easy. And all of our listeners are owners, so they know why you want to have an agency.
Yes.
But what made you start, You Should Get a License podcast? Tell us what inspired that and what that's done for you.
It's exactly what you just said, Carrie. Hey, you don't know that this exists, and it's, people are quiet. This is not a flashy industry. People don't flaunt, what they're earning or what they're doing. So you would never know. And frankly, even as a broker, it's like brokers are invisible almost. You think about, people working in their jobs on a day-to-day basis. They don't know who that broker is, that has set up that plan, that's still participating in that. So it's exactly what you said. It's how else are you going to know? You don't know what you don't know. I looked at my experiences really during the pandemic, once again, being in worksite marketing and working in the field on a day-to-day basis and having a field-based team and getting into a situation where there were not going to be any people in the field. There was not going to be any field activity happening. So, I just thought to myself during that time, it was a great time for introspection and reflection. I said, man, what can I do to kind of share my experiences from this industry and, maybe utilize it as a vehicle to give back. And it's really kind of turned into a passion project for me. Not only is it a podcast, but I ended up writing a book called You Should Get a License. Where I talk about insurance careers and different options. And it's also a directory of, professional trade associations and magazines and resources really for someone who is new to the industry as well. I have several roles. My wife says I have a lot of jobs. So I'm a university professor at Virginia Commonwealth University. And, I utilize that book to, and they have a school of RMI, which is a minor. And I use that book to say, hey, listen, I know you're thinking about, going into finances and accounting, and you're doing these other things. But wherever you find yourself, whatever sector you want to work in, there's an insurance component there. And here's a resource, for you to know that also exists as a path for you.
Yeah. So Rod, I got into insurance because of a program called Insure Academy. Do you know of Insure Academy?
Please educate me.
Insure Academy was created by the Big I of North Carolina.
Okay.
And they have a program that they fund fully where anyone who's age 18 all the way up can enroll in this program. It's a 6-week program. They'll pay for you to get your license. They'll give you vocational training, and then they'll place you in one of their member agencies. They'll market you. They'll get you multiple interviews. They'll help you through the interview process, and they'll get you a job. So that was my insurance project that entered me into the industry. So when I saw that you were doing this podcast and you were an adjunct professor and you had all of these things that you were working on, I think you're also a board member of an association as well.
Yeah. So there's a few boards that I sit on, and actually that idea that you just said, that needs to come to the Big I Virginia as well. Shout out to the Big I Virginia, but hey, we need that Insure Academy up there. For sure. Because I wasn't familiar with Invest, but I wasn't familiar with that. So that's really cool. But Virginia, I do sit on the board for the Virginia Association of Independent Agents, which is the educational arm of the Big I.
Nice.
And also on the national board for NAIA, which is the National African American Insurance Association as well. So as far as, professional trade associations, and then there's a few other boards that I sit on in the industry too. But those are the two most prominent professional boards, that I do a lot of work in.
Yeah. So as I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile and seeing all of this, all I could think is, how is this Like, this guy's got to be so smart. He's implanted himself into where young people are, where marginalized communities, need to get into this amazing industry. What's the impact that this podcast has had on your agency? Like, do you get a lot of new employees? What does that look like?
It's interesting. When I started the podcast, I did say, hey, well, perhaps there'll be, some recruiting opportunities. People will hear the benefits, of looking at this as a career path, and they'll want to explore it, and hopefully they want to explore it with me because I trust myself that, hey, if someone comes to work with me, I know I'm going to take care of them, I'm going to look out for them, I'm going to make sure that they have the right path, and I'm going to speak to them in a very non-biased way, and point them in the direction that's best for their temperament. And I don't know if I'm that smart, but I've known a lot of smart people, and I'm just following kind of what they do and getting guidance, from those who are around me that have been where I want to go. It has had an impact on the agency. I heard Grant Cardone say one time, "Best known beats best," right? So what the platform really has done is created a pretty significant amount of visibility for me. So oftentimes, when I'm meeting someone, depending on the space I'm in, they may already be familiar with me before that. And if someone is looking for guidance, I definitely do get people reaching out. And it's not always to work with me, because, my agency, my firm, what we do is not always the best fit. Sometimes I need to direct them to someone else. Once again, my platform is designed to be a non-biased place. Everything sounds good in the recruiting room from every company. So come to my platform, and you're just going to get honest perspective from people who've been there, done that, and then you can determine what works best for you. And if you call me, I'm going to point you in the direction that works best for you. Can I share the analogy that I use when people call me?
Absolutely. Please.
Okay. The analogy that I share when people call me, I say, listen, my background's in the entertainment industry, so I'm going to describe it in industry terms. When you enter this industry, you can be independent. You can be independent with major distribution, or you can have a record deal. If you're going to be independent, you're going to run your label. You're going to put in all the BST, blood, sweat, and tears. At the end of the day, you'll take a good deal of the lion's share, but I'm telling you, it's a lot of work, probably going to require some capital, certainly going to require some time and patience, effort, and energy as well. But if you're built for that, then you can go that direction. Or you can be independent with major distribution. If you're independent with major distribution, maybe you plug into a captive organization, a State Farm, an Allstate, a Farmers, or maybe an IMO, which is an independent marketing organization that can help you with some tools, resources, training, help you to build within their structure, or worksite marketing company like I worked with, where they already have everything kind of turnkey. You plug into that. Now you're going to give up a piece, but you're going to have a system that you can run with, and you still have the flexibility to build in an entrepreneurial model. Or you can pursue the career from a record deal perspective. You can go work with one of the big 5 brokers. You can be a corporate consultant. You can go and make a great salary, make a great living. Now, you won't own your masters because that book of business is not yours, but you still have a great career and you can still enjoy yourself as well. So you have to determine what temperament you have and what path is going to work best for you. And then I ask, hey, of those 3, where do you see yourself?
How do people normally respond to that? Do people are people you're interviewing actually joining the industry? Are you getting a lot of pipeline that you see, or is it just, an exploration conversation for most of them, do you think?
I think for many it is about exploration, but I do see people get licensed, pursue the license. People say, hey, I think I'm going to get licensed. Then reach out and say, hey, I got licensed. Where do you think I should go? And I've helped to direct people in various capacities, whether it be corporate route, whether it be entrepreneurial route, whether just, hey, plug into maybe an IMO if you want to start this part-time and just kind of get your feet wet. Like I said, everyone, just like this industry has something for everyone. And as far as opportunity and position, I think you have to meet people where they are, based on, like I said, their personality, their goals, their objectives, and say, hey, listen, wherever you want to go, we're going to find a place for you. And that's really what the platform was designed to do.
Yeah. Rod, we met an agent that this is his passion. And actually what Lindsay was telling you, that North Carolina built, the CEO of North Carolina, his name's Avi Knight. He said it's the thing he's most proud of. I think all of us realize that this is an industry we love, and to get young people to join, to see what we see, number one, like to actually get the word out that this is unbelievable opportunity, and it's a missed opportunity in some situations that people just don't know. But for him, he said it's the thing I'm most proud of that I've ever created. People that work on getting people into our industry, it's a passion project. Are you going this alone, or do you have other people that are with you that are helping you build this? I guess that's my other question,
Yeah, I mean, no man is an island, right? I think
Right.
you always have, your support systems. Obviously, starting, personally at home, with my family and, my
Yeah.
wife, who's very supportive of just the amount of time, that I put
Yeah.
into everything I do. But, what I've always looked for is ways to find, synergistic collaboration. So it's interesting in 2020 when I started the platform, you talked about VAs on your talk at the Big Eye,
Yeah.
where I was introduced to eCarry, which was a phenomenal, by the way.
Thank
Um,
you.
so in 2020, I started working with a virtual assistant for some of my lead. Obviously, we're isolated. We're doing a lot of virtual, so I started working with him for some lead generation and some administrative tasks. We built a great career, over the years. 5 years later, we're still working together. But in addition to that, I helped him to actually just start an agency versus just being a independent VA. And I invested in that agency. I now have co-ownership in that VA, and we built a team that can service agencies as well as other industry sectors. And we've been doing that, and they actually help a great deal on this podcast. So a lot of the things that you see on the
Love
platform,
it.
they're actually doing and facilitating for me now. So they help make things more efficient. Another great book that I read that kind of helped put those in my mind, those kind of thoughts in my mind, was Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
It's a
Amazing,
great book. Super
great book.
great book. Yeah.
And I was like, hey, we can do as much as we want to do as long as we can find someone who can help us do it. So definitely, not doing it alone. In the agency, I have a great partner, Calvin, shout him out. He handles all of the commercial PNC stuff. I handle, the benefit stuff. We're in the process of both, organic growth initiatives as well as some M&A activity. So it's a really cool thing there. And then with IMOs, I have several partners on the IMO side as well that I can help to direct people if they need some support as well. And really, I just kind of sit in the middle as a relationship facilitator.
Love it. Love it. We utilize VAs too. My first hire was a
Oh.
VA. And I will tell you this, Rod, it's really kind of funny. When I did that speech, I said, several years ago when I would ask who in the room uses a VA, and I would expect no hands to go up. But I was shocked how many hands did not go up in that room when I asked that question. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, goodness gracious. But that's a whole nother podcast and a whole nother
It is.
topic,
Yeah,
It is.
we can
But
have a
what
full conversation about that, right?
I know, but what a differentiator it is. And if you're not doing it, what a gap you're creating inside your agency. Like it is, human resources in our industry is one of the biggest challenges. And there is not one solution. Number one, let's recruit people in and get them to understand it. And let's find the next future leaders of this industry. But we definitely need to think differently about our teams. We got to think differently about utilizing virtual assistants. We got to think differently about automation. We got to think differently about bots. We got to think of how do we do our work has to change because it's what's happening around us in this world. So it's still mind boggling that, there's so many people that are not seeing that the same way I just said it and potentially lagging behind. And then there's those that are embracing it. And the way that we're going to compete is very, very different. The way we're going to do our work is very different. So I love that you're coming at it from a human perspective and how do we create opportunities for the next generation inside our industry. And it might not be the same roles. Right? It very likely won't be the same roles that exist today or the same number of people in those roles. Like we all know that, but man, we need to get the word out. And I love that you're doing your part to get the word out for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rod, I think I want to end with this. When you first started, you should get a license versus where it is today. what was the goal when you started it versus what is it kind of turned into today? Is it exactly what you thought it would be? Are there different facets to it that you're like, oh my gosh, I never would have believed that would have happened? How has that evolved?
I think it's important to, obviously, I think it's important to set goals when you're doing something. But my goal was to just put it out. That was my goal, to produce. Like, my philosophy is add value to the world when and where you can, right? It's not, I don't think it's my job to say, this is the specific thing that it's going to do, right? I'm going to put it out and it's going to do what it's going to do. And that's really what the platform has done as well. I remember when I first started, I was ridiculed about it. I was chastised about it, from some of the individuals I was working with at the time. They're like, what are you doing? Putting this stuff out. And I mean, I got a lot of pushback, a lot of slack. And I said, I'm just driven in my heart to just put this out. I did the same thing in music. I released 6 commercial projects. Okay. And when I put those projects out, I say, hey, look, I'm just putting it out. You have to share what you have inside of you with the world in whatever capacity that is. That's what this platform is. That's what the books have been. Not only do You Should Get a Licensed book, but there's 2 other books that are authored, Black Pioneers of the American Insurance Industry and Black Innovators of the American Insurance Industry, to really show, my demographic, my population, African American. Hey, listen, we have a history in this business. Just because you walk into a room and you might not see us prevalently all the time.
Absolutely.
We've been here in this space, and here are some stories of people who have, been in this space and done some impact, and you're a stakeholder in this industry as well. So I think I just put the stuff out. I just produce. I'm a builder. I'm a producer. I'm going to put it out. And whatever happens is what happens.
Yeah. I love that.
I love,
there
love,
needs to be more.
Yeah.
There needs to be more of that. I mean, as 2 women in the industry, right? We walk into the room and we see pale, male, and stale too.
Same.
Like it needs to have color. It needs to have gender differences and all of those things. So thank you
for you that you're doing that.
Do it.
That's awesome.
And let me commend the 2 of you. So Carrie, and then having Lindsay, your daughter, kind of in the business and helping and working. See, this is what it's really about. It's about perpetuating a legacy, but it's also, just continuing to expose it to that next generation, right? Because even though Lindsay's your daughter, it's like, Lindsay, you have your own peer group. And in your peer group, they're seeing that you're working in an industry that they may not be familiar with or haven't been interested in. It's like, oh, well, man, that's an idea. That's something I could potentially do too. So commend the 2 of you. And the great work you're doing as well with agencies.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. I will tell you, Rod, we started a podcast. Obviously you're sitting on it. And when she asked the question, I was thinking to myself, I was like thinking, how would I answer that question? And our answer was, we're just going to put it out as well. We're going to commit to do this. We're going to create a conversation, and it's taken on its own life, which is kind of nice. But the reality is, I just like doing it because I get to spend time with Lindsay. Lindsay gets to meet unbelievable people. We both get to meet some pretty cool people and learn more and more and more about this industry. So I am definitely going to look you up and listen to your music for sure, because that's going to be pretty cool. I was going to ask you to sing on the podcast, but I don't think that's fair, right? I'm not going to do that.
It's not under Rod Powell, though. It's not under Rod Powell.
Oh, well, I will. What will it be under? Tell me what it's under.
If you look under Jarrard Anthony, Jarrard Anthony, and I used to shy away from my music background, but I've really embraced it now because I do think it's good. I think every part of us is a part of our story. But Jarrard, if you look up Jarrard Anthony, trust me, that it's easy to find out there.
I can't wait.
We'll find it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks for joining us. Thank you for what you're doing to help young people find their place in this industry. And I look forward to seeing you again in Virginia Beach. How about that?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity once again. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Insurance Refocused podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to hit subscribe and leave us a review so you'll never miss us. Want to learn more about how Agency Focus can help you grow your agency? Head to agency-focus.com or email Carrie directly at carrie@agency-focus.com. If you need to get in touch with me, feel free to shoot me an email at lindsay@agency-focus.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.